when I mean I have a black belt, I have a real professional eye for who's up to no good and who isn't, who's a good girl and who isn't. I was speaking to a member of staff of yours recently, and I was dating some girl, and her WhatsApp profile picture was a picture of me and her kissing. And I was like, well, that's a very good sign because
good sign.
Yeah, there's lots of dudes on it. I mean, the breakup's already happened with her, but there's lots of dudes who are trying to WhatsApp her, etc. But it's a picture of me there kissing her in her WhatsApp inbox, and I know she only has one phone. Good sign. But one of the smallest micro details I can tell you is I once took a girl who's now my main chick. I once took her to a hotel in another country. So it was one of her first trips abroad. And she opens up her suitcase. We're at a 5-star hotel, $2,000 a night. Right. I've decided to take her with me. I've known the girl a year. Right. Wonderful woman. Opens up her suitcase, and there's a big-ass hairdryer in her suitcase. I was like, a hairdryer in your suitcase? Now, for you guys listening at home, you'd be like, what does that mean? Right. Everybody knows that every 5-star hotel has a hairdryer attached in the bathroom. So this girl hasn't been hanging out ever in any luxury 5-star hotels. She's just the simple girl who she told me she was. Because what girl would pack a hairdryer? Everyone knows if every 5-star hotel has one.
She would know.
But she didn't know.
She didn't know.
Because that was her first time at a 5-star hotel. That was her first time on a luxury trip at a place like that. And it's the micro details that you have to look for. But that comes with experience.
How many languages do I speak? I'm actually going to answer this one. I'm going to answer it because there's loads of speculation around it. And I'm going to answer it with a story. I think I'm going to finish this stream with this story. When people ask me how many languages I speak, I say almost one. Now, there's a story behind that, and it's going to make a lot of sense when you learn why I say it. When I was about 16, 17 years old, I spoke Slovak relatively well. Better than I do today because I've forgotten a lot of it. I used to live with some Slovak people. I lived with them for 2 years. One of my best friends was a guy from Slovakia. He's still my friend to this day. And I used to visit Slovakia with my friend. I was 17 years old, 18 years old. I was a very young man. So my father was at my house in England, at my mother's house, and he'd go from 0 to 100 really quick. Chilled to furious in half a second. You wouldn't even see it coming. So he's talking to me and he's saying, oh, how you like it out there in Slovakia? You've been visiting Eastern Europe. I visited Eastern Europe when I was a young man. I was like, yeah, Slovakia is cool. I like it out there. And he goes, you're right out there? Like, I mean, do you trust the people out there? I said, yeah, don't worry, Dad. I know I could speak Slovak. And his face dropped. He said, you don't speak Slovak. I said, I do, kind of. I mean, not the best, but I kind of do. He said, you don't speak Slovak. You don't even speak English. And I said, what the fuck does he mean I don't even speak English? So he said to me, he goes, okay, in Slovak, translate this sentence. The hovercraft is infested with eels. Translate it. I said, the hovercraft? Don't know. Infested? Don't know. With? I knew. Eels? Didn't know. Didn't know, I didn't know. I said, Dad, look, I don't know. See, he goes, you don't speak Slovak. I told you. You don't even speak English. Then he put together a sentence in the English language that I didn't understand. I can't repeat what he told me to this day because they were words that I did not know in English. And I don't speak English as well as I should. And I realized it then at 18 years of age. And he shut me down completely and silenced me with my arrogance and my stupidity to think that to a professional linguist or to somebody who considered him a linguist of my dad's level, that I could even brag that I speak any language. So when someone says, how many languages do you speak? The answer I will always give is almost one. I speak some Slovak. Hovorím trošku po slovensky. I speak some Polish. Mówię bardzo dobrze po polsku. Romanian, obviously. I live here. Înțeleg românește foarte bine, dar nu vorbesc. But English, almost. But yeah, the answer is almost one. But I'm conversational on a few.
Let me tell you a good story about being kind to waiters and bartenders, especially in the city that you live in. It's an investment. Yeah. It's an investment to throw money around. I do it here in Dubai because I spend a lot of time here. I certainly do it in Bucharest. I was on a date with a Romanian celebrity. I'm not going to name drop her here, but famous girl, a few million followers on Instagram, etc. And the lights had gone out in the garden of one of the fanciest restaurants in town. So obviously being one of the fanciest restaurants in town, they put a bunch of candles on every table. So I was sitting there as the waiter was pouring our champagne. I said to the girl, I said, you know what? I specially organized this. I called my friends at the electricity company. I had them shut down the power grid just so we could have candles tonight. And she goes, hi, all right, Tristan, yeah, where's my flowers? As a blasé comment, because she knew I was joking. She knew I was bullshitting. The waiter, good friend of mine, had, when pouring the champagne, overheard this. No joke. 2 minutes later, he comes over with the biggest bouquet of flowers he must have taken from behind from behind the restaurant. Mr. Tate, here are the flowers you ordered. And I sat there, straight face, ice cold, sip my champagne. 10 minutes later, I was like, "You'll have to excuse me." I get up. I was just like, "My man!" I was like, "No way! Did you just do that?" So, and why? Why? Because I'm rude to waiters? Because I didn't get to know his name? Right. I've been eating at that restaurant for 2 years before that. I throw money around. I tip well. He knew exactly who I was. So, being kind to people pays dividends. Not only is it, do women notice it, because they really do. Yeah. But the staff notice it, and they treat you better. And being treated with respect around women is a huge turn on for women. Mr. Tate, how are you? Oh, let me just clear this parking spot. Sorry, we have no tables. Let me just put one out for you. Right. That's a huge turn on for women, and you get that respect by being kind.
And that's built over time and rapport. Would you say it's a strategy for you to hit certain spots in your town repeatedly enough so you get the opportunity to create that rapport?
Yes. But it goes beyond just trying to get women. It really does go beyond that because, you're only going to be there for a day or a weekend or, a week. But certainly in your hometown and the places you hang out the most, do it.
Right. I'm going to tell you a 2-minute amusing story about the man I learned this from. The man I learned this from was an old African man called Luke the Man. His name was Luke, but he called himself Luke the Man. So I was 16 and I was working at a coffee shop at the airport. So I'd make coffees and that was my bullshit job. That was my existence. And I worked with this brother from the Ivory Coast Republic, skinny, natty, weird afro hair, ugly as fuck, thick African accent. And he would try to talk to every woman behind the fucking counter. He'd always give away these free coffees. I'm talking old women, grandmas, women with their husbands and kids. He'd be like, "Hey, you look so beautiful today. Here's a coffee on the house. This coffee is from Luke the Man." That's my Luke the Man impression. That's how it sounds. And he tried to flirt with every single woman. So one day, I'm the 16-year-old kid. I'd only just about fucked my first girl probably at this point. I think, I had one girlfriend who I'd lost my virginity to. So I had a body count of 1 back then. And this beautiful girl, beautiful fucking, I can remember her now. The typical Eastern European, dark hair, smoky eyes, full lips, walks up to the counter, and Luke the Man gives his fucking bullshit. "Hey, baby, you look so beautiful today." Starts talking bullshit to her. Now, I ignore him because he does this all day, every day. 3 days later, turns out this girl was Hungarian. 3 days later, this motherfucker shows me on his Sony Ericsson camera phone a picture of this Hungarian girl sucking his 15-inch black dick. I don't know. The guy, Luke the Man was, now I think Luke the Man works in a phone store in London last time I looked him up. He was never, but he was packing, to be fair to him. He was packing. So I said, "Luke, how the fuck did you get this girl to talk to you? How did you get this girl to have sex with you?" He's like, "Tristan, my brother. I talk to all the girls. You have to talk to all of them, and some of them will say yes." And I was 16 years old. So I'm out there in the club I used to use my brother's ID to get into bars. I was 17, and I would say to Andrew, "All right, Andrew, I'm Luke the Man. I'm going to be Luke the Man. Watch this." I took my drinks. I walk up to the girls, and it kind of, I wasn't confident, but I taught myself how to be because I quickly understood that was what was required to get what I wanted.
There are all these great, let's call them career women, who've had their careers. I saw on your Facebook you're a big fan of that Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't dislike her. Good for her. Amazing woman. Did very well. Broke a lot of glass ceiling. But anyway, my point is this. I was recently at my grandmother's birthday. She was in Alabama. She was 90 years old. This was 1 year ago. She was turning 90. So I flew all the way from Romania, changed in London to Atlanta, and I rented a car and drove all the way to some redneck town in the middle of Alabama to see my grandmother. She hadn't seen me in like 10 years. So when I got there, so typically in the United States, this whole let's get married at 30 and have kids after our career, this is new. This wasn't the United States of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. It really wasn't. So my grandmother, I was standing around this room. She had 9 kids, about 30 grandkids, and another 15 great-grandkids, and 1 or 2 great-great-grandkids in this massive room full of people.
Wow.
And I was standing around and everyone was, hugging her and telling stories about her and telling all these beautiful things. And I thought, this is, to me, that's a woman's life fulfilled more so than a woman who, worked in this career or that career. I don't even know what job my grandma ever did. I don't even know what career she ever had, but there were no mentions of it. come the end of her life when we were in that big room full of people. She was just looking around at all the life that she created, and she had the biggest smile on her face I can ever remember seeing any woman have. And I treat women very nicely, so that's a very big that's a very big compliment. So I think that this idea, certainly in the minds of Western women, and you are for all intents and purposes an American woman, I just don't think it's that beneficial to women or men or to anything or anybody.
I have a story here about excuse making. So you've labeled yourself as ADHD and said that that's the reason why you can't concentrate. I had a full medical exam 4 years ago, about 6 months after I retired, the 2-time European kickboxing champion. After a full sports career, I had a medical exam. And because of a medical condition, which is called, you can look this up, pectus excavatum, is where my chest goes in. My chest is indented here. I only have 85 or 90% of the cardiac output that most people have. So my heart doesn't pump 100% of the blood it should around my body. Now, imagine somebody had told me that when I was 11 or 12 years old and I was a weak-minded individual. I would have got tired in my first kickboxing session. I lost my first fight. I really did I lost my first 2 fights, ladies and gentlemen. After I lost my first fight, I could say, well, reduced cardiac output. I haven't got the fitness for this. I quit. I didn't even know I had this condition. And for the record, and nobody knows this, Andrew is an asthmatic world champion. So don't label yourself as ADHD. I feel like these labels are enabling you to make excuses. Correct. I didn't know about my slight medical condition until after my career had finished, and I used to whoop everyone's ass because I was fitter and stronger than them. Don't let ADHD be an excuse. And I don't know who you are, but that's a lesson to all 8,600 of you watching. Correct. Someone said, oh, you have attention deficit disorder. Oh, maybe you might be bipolar. You might be dyslexic.
You know what you might be? You know what you might be?
A geek.
A brokey. Don't end up like him.
Yeah, he's got ADHD.
He's got ADHD. He had no arms.
To be fair, he's got no head now, so he's actually got an excuse for being broke.
Yeah.
If you had no head and you were broke, I'd give you that one.
Attention detached head disorder.
Exactly.
Don't end up like the brokies.